You know, it's been an awfully long time since we visited the merchant. Now, well, here goes nothing.
I swear to God you bang your head on my door one more time, and I'll come down there and fuse my fist with your blue eyes. That's it. Get over here, you third-rate duelist.
Alright then, welcome to week number 9. It's now officially been a little bit over 2 months since we started this challenge, and a lot of money down the drain. But during our last episode, if my cat could finish scratching her little clawsies. You done? Feeling okay? Yeah, alright then. Yeah, during our last episode, we opened our second Duel Overload, and we already essentially finished the set. We need a terraforming, but then that's it. If we get a terraforming, it's over. We never need to open it again. We got our Preda plan in the second box. Right, so for this episode, we are diving into the last opening of Battles of Legend Armageddon, because we do need Kaliaga and hopefully another invocation. If we can get that, we're officially done with this set permanently, which would be great. There's not a lot of other things in this set that we are honestly looking for at this point. And starting next week onward, we are most likely going to dive into Megatins. Gazelle, Assault Blackwing, another Numeron, Flower Guardian, Powered Crawler. That looks really wonky. Right, none of what we want. Screw that pack, go into the next. So, off camera, I learned that you can actually open these like normal goddamn people. But I'm never going to do that, apparently. Away you go. Oh, it's one of the Calantosa. Appliance or Aposcale, Appliance or Socket Roll. Number 3, Glacial Beast Penguin. Bonkers. Come on, we need a Kaliaga and an Invocation, and then we are done. Please, for the love of all that is holy and crow. Oh, Jesus, the card's flying. Appliance or Test. Psychic Wave. Number 2. Penguin Torpedo. Specimen Inspection. That could have been Invocation. Why? Why do you give me this crappy fossil card? I do not care about the John D. What was his name in GX? The guy with the crocodile on his back. Or alligator, I guess it wasn't the English dub. What was his name? Comment down below, I've forgotten. Appliancer, Electoral World, Intruder Longello Alert. Oh, thank you, Kaliaga. There we go, the last invoked fusion that we needed. Each player can only attempt to activate one monster effect per turn, meaning we can essentially lock our opponent out of effects and special summoning. Really strong. Appliancer Refuse and Fossil Warrior Skullbone. So, for these last 4 packs, the only thing we want is an invocation. Are we going to get one? No. I know, we've had really good luck so far, but I have a feeling the answer is no. But who knows? Sunlight Wolf, Numeron Gate, Secure Gardener, Afterglow, Fossil Fusion. No. That could also have been Invocation. That was even like a fusion card. Come on. Oh, I'm so upset. I'm still in shock over last week's Preda plan, to be honest, because that card is just too good. It's too good. Neo Alias, Brotherhood of the Fire Fist, Appliance for Celtopia, Junk Anchor, another Skullbone. I don't care about you, Skullbone. I want an invocation. Please. 2 packs left of Battles of Legend. If we don't get an invocation here, there's a high likelihood we will not open this set again, because we have everything we realistically need from it other than, another invocation. So, Numeron Gate, double Numeron Gates, wow. Mega Phantom Beast, O-Lion, another Fawn, another Gate. There were 3 gates in this pack. It is the gateway to Invocation. I hope. If it isn't, I'll be mighty, mighty upset. Right. Bronze Disciple, another Zoroboros, Numeron Wall, another one of these, and Darkspell Regen. So no, unfortunately there will be no second Invocation for us, which kinda sucks, because that means we only have one, but we do have 2 Aliasters at least, so we can sort of get them, I suppose, to our deck. But this is our last Invoked card that we needed, Caliaga. So next week, I guess we're opening 2020 tins. Oh boy. I'll see you guys in our duels now that our Invoked core is essentially complete, kind of. We'll see.
Before our duels this week, though, we have one last stop to make.
Did somebody say card games? We got plenty of deals in stock. Have a look.
I don't think anyone said card games, but on the other hand, we are here for your stock today, Mr. Merchant, because today, 10 episodes in, mind you, we are going to be unlocking challenges. Mr. Merchant, I will take that challenge mode card if you'd please.
One challenge mode, coming right up.
I feel happy and fine.
I have no idea what just happened.
Neither do I.
Once you finish your first challenge, come visit me again. My co-worker would want to get in touch.
Sure thing. For now, though, I got 5 duels to get to. I'll see you around, Merchant.
Don't be a stranger.
About bloody time we have access to challenges. So, from this day onward, on the left side of the screen during our duels, the whole locked panel you've seen for 10 episodes will now have our current challenge inside of it. To start off easy, we'll only have one challenge present, that being to achieve a 5-win streak. Remember, buys do not count towards win streaks, they simply keep it alive. Then, if you guys would like to suggest a challenge, as well as a reward for that challenge, leave a comment down below. Any of them that I happen to find my fancy in, I will add to the challenge board. What is the challenge board, you ask? Well, tune in next episode and you'll find out. Now, without any further ado, here are this week's duels. So, for the first duel of today, we are going up against Heroes. Our starting hand is a little bit mediocre at best, so I decided to pop a Shaddoll fusion going into Construct, throwing Schemata, scrolling Wendy, setting a Beast, and then holding the rest of the cards in my hand to see what my opponent can do. My opponent activates Trade-In, discarding Destiny Hero Plasma, which I argue for a bit if it's worth hitting this with Ash just to make sure he doesn't go +1. So I go, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna do that. Our opponent then activates Stratos to get Vylon up to his hand. He goes into the standard hero combo of playing Vylon, getting an increase from the deck, activating Increase's effect, sacrificing Vylon, using Increase's effect to summon Diane, I believe the third one is called. He grabs a Polymerization to his hand, activates Destiny Hero Dogma to bring it back to the field. He triple tributes into Plasma to steal my Construct, Stratos attacking into Beast, but Beast not getting an effect thanks to Plasma. We top deck Super Poly, which is quite literally our only way out of this. We activate Super Poly immediately, getting rid of his Plasma that he worked so hard to get, getting ourselves a Winda and the effect of Construct, getting our Shaddoll fusion back. Increase gets set back from his graveyard during the battle phase, to which he activates Zodiac Ram. He goes into Tiger Mortar, and here I'm assuming he would have gone into Zeus if he could. He attacks into Dragon, flipping Tiger Mortar back to the extra deck. We draw another Super Poly that we decide to set, we attack straight in with Winda and pass the turn, and now we've turned into Winda Beatdown. Our opponent plays Increase once more to summon the Increase in his Spell and Trap Zone, and then simply ends his turn. We do nothing except beat him with Winda as we draw our third Super Poly, which is going to be the theme of today. Our opponent activates Destiny Draw and does nothing with it. We draw a Magical Meltdown, we decide to go into Alistair, not activating Alistair's effect because our Invocation's in the graveyard. We do attack in for a substantial amount of damage, leaving our opponent 2,200 life points. Our opponent plays Stratos, does grab an elemental hero from his deck, I believe. And he grabs Honest Neos, which is actually terrifying for us. But instead, he goes and activates Polymerization instead of just using it to beat over Winda. He goes into Sunrise, which I will immediately Super Poly away, using Alistair and his monster to go into a Mechaba, to which he concedes. For game number 2, we have cited in some more hate cards. I believe we cited in the not Ghost Spell, the other one. No, it's Ghost Spell. Regardless, he makes us go first, and we activate Magical Meltdown, we set 2 and pass, because our starting hand is not exactly the best. He then activates Fusion Destiny, and this is bad. Destiny and Dragoon is horrifying. We do drop a dragon, which I did not mean to do. I meant to set a dragon, so I had to drop Wendy first, which was a massive misclick, so at this point I'm like, shit. We have to force the use of Shaddoll Incarnation here to set Dragon back, which was my original intent to do, but regardless, we go for it. We activate Shaddoll Fusion, going into yet another construct, dumping Trick Clown and Wendy. So Destiny or Dragoon doesn't really do anything at the moment. He's just a really, really big beat stick, but we can't beat over him with Construct, I believe. So we simply decide to get as many monsters on the board as possible, essentially filling our ranks as good as we can. We then decide to go into Cross Sheep, activating Construct's effect to draw the Shaddoll Fusion back to our hand. We decide to activate Raijin, even though we don't have a zone open. Because I'm stupid, let's be honest. At this point, I'm like, well, I fucked up everything. So I activate Alistair, draw into an Invocation. I check his graveyard to see if he has any lights, which he doesn't, unfortunately. I flip open Dragon just to return his Dragoon to the deck. We activate Invocation, going into a Mechaba. We then have a think about what to do. And my original plan here was to climb as high as possible to deal as much damage as possible in one turn, but in the end I decide to activate Raijin's effect to flip itself face down, meaning it will not be destroyed by Instant Fusion's effect, which is kind of a neat little trick that I didn't really know until this very moment. Our opponent then attempts to climb back again using Vylon and Increase as good as he can, but with Mechaba on the board we can hit him at any moment we pick to our choosing. Honestly speaking, I was waiting for some sort of fusion card to drop down, because that's most likely what I would want to hit here. A Polymerization, a Mask Change, anything of any relevance that he could summon, I want to hit as soon as possible. Him flooding the board, I'm way less interested in. Our opponent then activates all of the Destiny Hero Dogma again. He does go for the Polymerization, which I figured, so I go ahead and negate it with Mechaba, because that is the one thing I'm actually scared of. Our opponent then simply sets another card and passes his turn, which leads us into what is essentially the best possible outcome here. We draw Alistair, a tier lister back to our hand. We activate Beast's effect and then draw into a Super Poly and a Ariel. An Ariel we simply dump to the graveyard. We decide to link into a Predapod Verti Anaconda in order to potentially use Super Poly. We activate Alistair's effect once again, because I really wish we had another Invocation. That would have been so good at this point, but regardless, we have a look for a moment, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for a fire. I want to go into Purgatorio and just completely mess them up, but we do decide to use the Super Poly off of Predapod Verti Anaconda, realizing we can't really do much. We get ourselves a window, we go into the battle phase, and we just begin beating over everything. And shocking surprise, that's game 1. Game number 2, we're playing up against an archetype that I have not seen since I stopped playing years ago. We're playing up against Blackwings. Yeah, those Blackwings, like the Synchro ones. So our opponent normal summons a Chris the Crack of Dawn and does nothing with it. We activate Magical Meltdown going into A-tier Lister once again to activate its effect to get into an Invocation, but he gets Solemn Striked. Oh crap! I decide to use my Shaddoll Fusion to go into a Construct, trying to flood the board as much as possible, popping his back row using Dragoon, and getting a Trick onto the field. Turns out his set was a Pinpoint Guard? Sure thing. Construct beats into his monster, dealing him a nice chunk of damage, and we pass the turn on that with 2 Ashes in hand. Our opponent then goes into Blizzard of the Far North, which is going to bring back a Blackwing for Synchro material. And would you be shocked if I said he is going to attempt to synchro using them. Because he is. Down comes No Thumb the Starlight, which is a card I had never seen before. And it doesn't really do anything. You can normal summon 1 additional Blackwing per turn. Okay. He, for some reason, attacks with 0 attack into 0 attack, and then strikes into Construct, which destroys his monster, and then he surrenders. So at this point, I'm kind of realizing, okay, I have no idea how this guy got to gold on the ladder, but regardless, we go into game number 2. We get the same start again with Magical Meltdown, this time not getting hit by a Solemn Strike, so we go into a Mechaba, and we set 1 pass. Our opponent then goes into Sirocco the Dawn, which is another Blackwing I cannot remember, but then comes Gale the Whirlwind, which I do remember, and that thing is horrifying. So he is going to essentially reduce the attack by half, which I have to negate, because otherwise I don't stand a chance on the board. But turns out he has a second Gale in his hand, and it is not a hard once per turn. So he's going to activate it again, Mechaba is going to be reduced by half, and, well, crap. But then, for some reason, he goes into a Stardust Dragon, which I don't know why. Cool, but no, not sure why. We do use Turtle in order to negate the attack, however, so that we can go into a Raijin on our turn, go back into A-tier Lister, get our Invocation once more, use Invocation to go into Purgatrio, and now we have the entire Invoked squad on the board, just because. We flip it face down, and he can see it's giving us a clean win. Game number 3, I shit you not, is up against Blackwings. Was there like a secret Blackwing meeting or something that I've missed? Because I have not seen this much Blackwing being played since back in the 5Ds era. Regardless, our opponent manages to draw Black Whirlwind and play 3 monsters onto the board, and I'm just sitting here in complete shock at the fact that there's more than 1 player on the ranked ladder playing Blackwings. I debate for a moment what's the best course of action, but I decide to use Shaddoll Fusion to go into Winda, activating Squamata's and Falco's effect. Squamata going to drop a dragon to pop his Black Whirlwind. Our Winda simply beats over Gale the Whirlwind, and we pass the turn. Knowing that Winda is essentially good against any deck that needs to special summon, which is all of them, it is a very strong shutdown for Blackwings, because they want to synchro summon, they want to build their board. And now they can't. They go into the battle phase and attack into Falco, which is fine, so we activate Falco's effect to set Dragon to the field so we can return something to the hand. Our opponent doesn't have a special summon remaining. He attacks into Dragon. Dragon's effect activates. We decide to flip back the only tuner he currently has, which is Orisho the Squall, and then pass turn. Then we draw into an Ash Blossom, which is our best draw possible. We play a tier lister once again, go into Purgatrio. We activate Alistair to come back to the hand, buff Purgatrio, and punch him severely in the face. He says GG in the chat, mind you, and then as I'm sideboarding, take a guess what happens. He decides to close the window and give us the clean win. With that in mind, in a shocking turn of events, we've actually managed to complete the first challenge from the Magical Merchant. I wonder what's going to happen next episode now. Regardless, for game number 4, we're going up against Dragonmaids, which is another archetype I wish I knew how to play, because they seem really interactive and fun. Regardless, our opponent plays a Kitchen Dragonmaid, setting 2 and passing turn to us. I decide to go into Invocation almost immediately in order to get out an Apkalone, in order to make sure that the Kitchen Dragonmaid cannot bounce with something in its hand. This is kind of the whole deal with Dragonmaids, is that they want to tag out during the battle phase into their stronger variants and then tag back into their weaker ones afterwards. So I go, okay, you know what? I'm going to drop a dragon and pop his back row, which is Dragonmaid send-off, but it turns out he has another send-off, meaning he can tag out the smaller ones. Unfortunately, I cannot destroy it by battle this turn, so I am forced to pass, to which my opponent sets 2 and passes. I decide, okay, if there's any turn I'm going to get to do this, I'm probably going to have to do it now. I flip open Beast, hoping to draw into anything, since I don't have Invocation now. My Invocation's in the graveyard, so I can't go into Purgatrio to end the game here now. I do decide to drop a Wendy to special summon a Hedgehog, using Mathematician, which is still in the deck at this point, in order to drop a dragon to pop his back row, because the back row is most likely going to screw with me. It turns out to be a Called by the Grave, which doesn't necessarily do anything here, and I'm perfectly okay with this. We decide to just go into the battle phase and beat over all of his Dragonmaids, and then simply pass the turn. Oh yeah, we do summon Cross Sheep first, actually, activating Shaddoll Fusion in order to try and build the board some more, going into Winda, activating Headshot's effect, activating Cross Sheep's effect. This is when Cross Sheep is starting to get really good. We do get Dragon back, not that it really matters what we just, like, picked, because we couldn't have special summon anything else anyway. Our opponent then goes into Parlor Dragonmaid, which we decide to Ash, making sure he does not get any card draws to get back into this game. We go straight into the battle phase, and here I could have flipped Dragon into attack mode and had lethal, but I'm an absolute dumbass and forgot that I could do that. Oopsie daisies. I guess, you know, it's true what they say, don't play with your food. He does go into a Kitchen Dragonmaid, dumping a Tin Heck, which is the big version of Kitchen. It returns to the hand, tags out into Tin Hack, which is really bad because it can start beating over everything that we have. It beats over Winda, Winda's effect activates and we get a Shaddoll Fusion back. And at the end of the battle phase, it is yet again going to tag out. So it returns to the hand, and in comes Kitchen Dragonmaid again. This does not end up mattering too much because we simply decide to activate Reshaddoll Incarnation to bring a dragon back to the field face down, ensuring that whatever he plays, we can return it to the hand and beat over next turn, which we decide to do. We return the Kitchen Dragonmaid to the hand, making sure it cannot tag out in the battle phase, go into battle, beat in with Apkalone, and that is game number 1. For game number 2, our hand is unfortunately less impressive than the first one. We simply set Squamata, set Super Poly, pass. And then I kind of remembered that all of the Dragonmaids have really weird attributes. They're water, fire, and I believe earth, which is not something we're going to be able to hit regardless. Our opponent does go into Nudyarl, which is the large version of Laundry Dragonmaid, into Squamata. Squamata pops it. It does go to the graveyard, but it's not like we can capitalize on this because we have literally nothing in our hand. We are drawing nothing but spells, so we are forced to set one pass when Laundry Dragonmaid drops again. It's going to be able to go into the big one from the graveyard regardless. We're just like, okay, there's no point in ashing this because he's going to get it no matter what. He does go into the battle phase. Laundry Dragonmaid is going to tag out. And in comes a big Laundry Dragonmaid once again. It punches her for 2,600, returns to the hand. Laundry gets hit on the battlefield once more. And literally all we need to get this game under control is to draw an applicable monster. We draw into Wendy, which doesn't help us because we can't fuse with the Ash in our hand. Then Kitchen Dragonmaid gets dropped, and now it's going to get really dangerous because he's going to be able to bounce 2 of them. So I Ash prematurely, hoping he doesn't actually have it in his hand, but I should have known that he does. He does bash into Wendy when his effect activates, setting a Beast, because at this point we need the card draw. And it's 2 more fusion spells, now counting a grand total of 5, I believe, in this game alone. Shaddolls have this curse where either you're drawing all fusion spells or you're drawing no fusion spells. This game is an all fusion game. That sentence made no sense, but whatever. We draw into an Allure of Darkness, so I decide just to, okay, I'll set it, and it gets ashed, and at this point I just scoop them up because I know there is no chance I'm coming back from that. Game 3, we decide to go first yet again. We do set 3 and pass with a Reshaddoll Incarnation in the back row, hoping this time that we get a target we can actually hit. And surprisingly, we have not actually seen any of the Dragonmaid fusions yet, which is kind of terrifying because that's where the real power is. He goes into Laundry Dragonmaid again, and I decide, okay, I'm hitting this with Ash immediately just so he doesn't dump anything in his graveyard. He does send off in order to get Kitchen onto the field instead. And here's where it gets dirty. He decides to play Dragonmaid Changeover, which is the fusion spell that they have that goes into Strawl. We decide to activate Super Poly to get rid of it immediately, because if that thing keeps on the board, he's going to get House Dragonmaid as a tag out, and that thing is scary. We do get a Construct and we do set a Beast, hoping that it's enough to keep him at bay for quite a moment, but he has Hospitality. This means he's just going to special summon the Strawl back again, and then during the standby phase, he is going to get his House Dragonmaid regardless. During the standby, of course, he activates the effect to tag out Strawl to go into House Dragonmaid. House Dragonmaid... Oh no, sorry, he gets Kitchen back first, because, yeah, he has to do the long combo. Regardless, what House Dragonmaid actually does is that whenever a Dragonmaid is tagged out, he gets to pop a monster on the field, and that thing is terrifying. Here it comes, House Dragonmaid! Once returned during your standby phase, you can target one other Dragonmaid monster, return it to the hand, and when they do, destroy a monster. We decide to go into Alistair. Decide to go into Invocation because we need this thing to be stopped. The correct option here would have been to go into Purgatrio, which I didn't do because I'm a dum-dum, and instead I decided, yeah, I can probably, like, banish it during its effect, which is exactly what I'm going to need to do. So during the battle phase, one is going to tag out, House Dragonmaid's effect is going to activate. We are forced to negate this, banishing the House Dragonmaid, thankfully. We use Alistair here to power him up in order to punch over the dragon, which leaves us with no cards in hand. And that's about it. We are now at the mercy of our opponent, who drops a Nurse Dragonmaid. We are forced to activate Shaddoll Incarnation to set a Beast once more, hoping that we can draw into some cards on our turn. Our opponent gets a Laundry Dragonmaid back, dumps 3 cards, and begins the tagging out process, and this is when it gets bad. We draw into a Trick Clown, which is at least decent, so we can summon it to the field to avoid taking damage for 1 turn. For some reason, he decided to leave Makaba on the field, which I'm not entirely certain why. But here comes Changeover again, and ooh boy. So, Shu gets dropped once more. Shu's effect activates, and I'm like, yeah, I need to banish this, right? So I do. And then I forget that it can chain to its own effect. So he negates my negation, gets House Dragonmaid onto the board, which is going to summon Tin Hank, which is going to summon another one, and oh boy, I have done goofed now. At this point, he has the resources to just out-trade us, essentially. We're going to attempt to return House Dragonmaid to his extra deck, at least. But that is not going to do much when you're face down with 4 adult Dragonmaids, so to speak. It is not a good moment. So I'm sitting here. Is there a card that can actually get us out of this situation? Yes. Invocation. Is there a chance we're drawing Invocation? No. Because guess what? It's still in the graveyard. So there isn't really a chance we have of getting out of this, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah. Oh no, it's not in our graveyard, it's actually shuffled into our deck, because I remember to do it this time. But down comes Changeover, and we just decide to scoop, because there's no chance at that point. Duel number 5 is incredibly exciting today, because we're going up against the Shaddoll Mirror. And these matches can go, you know, one of 2 directions. Either someone super polys the other, or it just becomes a massive clusterbuck. Our opponent sets 2 and passes, which again makes me think that this is Eldritch, because at this point I am the only deck that sets things on turn 1. We decide to go into Alistair immediately on our turn, because we realize, okay, it needs to be done. We go into Makaba, or Alistair, sorry. We use the Trick Clown in our hand in order to get it back, then activate the effect to bounce it, and we decide to attack with Makaba. And it turns out to be a Damage Juggler, which is actually a card that we need to pick up at some point. He activates the effect of Damage Juggler in order to draw Trick Clown to his hand, and I'm like, okay, are we playing before Mages? I don't know a single deck that plays that card except for mine. He then goes into Hat Tricker, which is the 3rd card that you would want in a deck like this, because Hat Tricker is actually really good. He then normal summons an Ash Blossom, and I go, okay, that can't be real. He goes into Black Roost Moonlight Dragon to blow up Makaba. I do decide to chain Makaba's effect, to which he chains a Ghost Ogre, leaving us with nearly nothing. However, we simply decide to go into Alistair, link into Cross Sheep, activate Invocation, this time choosing again to go into Makaba, activating Cross Sheep's effect to bring back our Trick Clown to make sure that he can come back once more, activating Invocation's effect to draw back to the hand, punching him for a solid amount of damage, and then passing our turn. He then proceeds to set 1 pass. We summon Alistair again, draw Invocation again, and lo and behold, he does nothing. We go into Purgatrio and he surrenders. Game number 2, we actually have a much better starting hand this time. Our opponent immediately goes into El Shaddoll Fusion, going into Shekinah of all things. He then goes ahead and sets 2 cards and passes the turn to us, and Shekinah is actually kind of an issue. We do decide to activate Shaddoll Fusion because it is the best response card that we have to anything playing anything, but it gets asked with the final card in his hand, and I'm just like, fuck! Okay, we simply decide to drop a Hedgehog face down, take a Shekinah to make our own Shekinah, using Super Poly being the best card in this matchup. Unfortunately, he didn't have 2 face-up cards, so I couldn't double Super Poly. We then activate Monster Reborn in order to attempt to take his Shekinah, but then he Super Polys us into App Cologne. And I'm like, oh crap. To which we just Monster Reborn his Shekinah, so now we have a Shekinah and he has an App Cologne and a face-down Beast, which is really bad. So we're just forced to pass our turn and hope he doesn't draw it into anything that can harm us. He activates Beast's effect, drawing 2 cards, as per usual, I would say. He drops Chaos, which is not exactly a card that a lot of Shaddoll decks play, but I digress. We go into Shaddoll Fusion that we picked back up from Arshak and Naga hitting the graveyard. We go into a Construct. Construct is going to dump a Wendy. Wendy is going to set a Hedgehog, and we're going to summon Trick Clown back. We are then going to set a Dragon, just in case, activating Reshaddoll Incarnation to flip up the Hedgehog. I have a plan here. But it gets Ghost Reaper and Winter Chariot. And now I no longer have a plan, because as strange as this is, he actually removes all of my Apcalones. That's really bad in this matchup. I do decide to go into an El Shaddoll Fusion. I activate Anaconda's effect in order to use a Super Poly to go into a Winda. Apcalone is going to let him draw a card, which I'm going to Ash Blossom because I do not want to deal with it. We're going to flip everything into attack mode, and we are going to go ham. Punch in with everything we got, hoping that his one special summon this turn is not going to save him. If it's a Super Poly, it very well could. Our opponent simply sets 1, sets 2, passes turn. We do not mess around here. We go straight into battle phase. He does have a Dragon set, which returns to Construct, but that doesn't matter as we beat in for the win. Somehow, some undescribable way, we've come out of today winning 4 out of 5. Yeah, the Blackwing games were kind of ridiculous, because let's be honest, who would ever? But we take that here. This is the best win record we've had, almost taking a clean sweep of the week, but losing that match to Dragonmaids, which is unfortunate, but hot diggity darn. On top of this, 2 things have changed. 1, we've completed the first challenge, meaning some things are about to happen, because with challenges comes rewards. Secondly, our rating has actually increased from gold to platinum, meaning we are now 1 step closer to reaching that top 100. Hot diggity darn. Anyways, I'd like to thank all of you for watching this episode. If you want to see more of the crazy shenanigans like the animations I put into this episode, make sure to let me know in the comments. They were a ton of fun to make, even though they took me like the larger half of a day to create. But if that's what you guys want, I will happily do more of them. But as always, remember to subscribe to the channel because it helps out a lot. Click the like button and stay safe out there.